Greetings, everybody. Welcome to unit number 7. What this means, of course, is that your biggest assignment of the whole term is due at the end of this week. So we're going to spend some time on that today. The other things that we need to talk a little bit about next week, the deadlines change a little bit. So be sure to view the weekly video next week as well, even though there's not a major paper due next week. Do take a gander at that. I would also remind you that this week you do have a scheduled workshop. It's the last one. There is no Wednesday workshop in week 8. So this week is an important one. If you're unable to attend, of course, I will post the video as I always do, so you can get some extra help on your research paper from the workshop as well. So we're going to go and take a quick look at the other work for this week, and then I'm going to spend some time looking over a sample argument paper with you. So in Unit 7, you're going to be learning about revision and editing. And a lot of times we think of those two things as being the exact same thing, but revision of a document is really more than just proofreading or surface editing. Revision is when you really rethink, re-see, refeel the whole thing, make sure everything is coherent, it's in logical order, it makes sense. If needed, there are transitional words and phrases to help guide the reader through the whole thing. It is unified in the sense that it has one main point and it sticks to it. And then the other piece of that, of course, is development. And realistically, of course, we think of that as being, is it long enough? But development just means, have you proven what you set out to prove? Have you got enough details to support your ideas? So you're going to be learning about that in this week's readings and resources. So I will open that for you. You do have just one section this week. So you've already learned everything that you need to know to create a good research paper, argumentative research paper. You can also always go back to the prior units and review anything that you need to in there. Okay, so those are your readings and resources. Your discussion board this week is about revision because it is an important part of the writing process. So for your initial post, which is as usual due by Wednesday, none of the deadlines changed this week. So Wednesday is your first post. Some people really love revision. Other people prefer to just hand in what is required of them without revising or changing any of the assignment. Consider the following questions about revision. What is your opinion on revision and how often do you revise your work? What are the dangers of not revising your work? And then share an example from your work this term of a piece of writing that you actually revised. It could be the paper that you're working on this week. It could be one of the earlier assignments that we've done. It could even be like, what have you done with your discussion boards? Have you used Grammarly? What tools have you used to help make sure that you're polishing and revising your work? It could also be for a different class. It doesn't have to be something, it doesn't have to be an assignment for our class. And then, of course, you're going to respond to at least 2 others. Remember, with those, plan on spending 3 to 5 sentences. Try asking them a question to get, actual discussion motivated and started. And those responses to others are due by Sunday night at the end of the unit, as usual. So the Unit 7 assignment is the argument essay, and we've actually already seen this this assignment sheet many times. I am going to open it and kind of quickly go over it, but I mostly want to focus on what your argument paper should end up looking like. The other thing that's included here in the unit assignment is a checklist for revision, and I would 100% recommend either printing that out or at least opening it and going through your paper. When you think it's all done, that's when you do the checklist for revisions. Try to give yourself at least a few hours in between finishing the writing and turning it in so that you have some time to walk away from it. One of the hardest things about revision and proofreading is that if you try to do it right away, it's a lot harder. So ideally, you want to finish your paper by, say, Friday, and then come back to it on Sunday and make any last minute changes. But the checklist for revisions will help you no matter what time you have left to do those. So please do check that out and use it. For the assignment sheet, of course, this is your major paper. You have 3 possible topics. You've already chosen one. Your unit 4 and 5 assignments can be part of your argument essay. So if you use the same paragraphs that you did in unit 4, you will need to, edit those, of course, and improve them based on my feedback and just, how does it fit in with the rest of the paper. But those can become part of the body of your essay. And of course, the unit 5 assignment was designed to be the first paragraph. Again, you want to make sure that you check out the feedback that I left for you. Many folks need to kind of fine tune their thesis statements, which is perfectly normal. Typically, when you write a thesis statement before you actually write the paper, you almost always end up having to revise it because, of course, what you end up writing might be a little bit different than what you thought you were going to write. So you definitely want to take a look at that and use that in your paper. So you're going to have an introductory paragraph that ends with a clear single sentence thesis statement. The thesis should make your argumentative position clear. So yes or no, should artificial intelligence be used in classrooms? Yes or no, should books be banned from school libraries? Yes or no, should college graduates receive debt forgiveness? I do want to point out that you don't have to have a position that is hardcore, absolute one way or the other. So for example, should books be banned from school libraries? Most people don't believe in banning books, but maybe there are certain exceptions that they would have. So you can take sort of a middle position, but you're probably going to come down pretty hard one way or the other, yes or no answers to the question that you're answering. So your thesis needs to be clear about that. In the body paragraphs, you're going to focus on one topic each in support of your argument. You must have at least 3 reliable academic sources. So those must come from the post-university library. If you are relying solely on websites, you are not going to achieve the high score that you are desiring. You must be using library resources. And the benefit, of course, of using library resources is that the library sources come with a correct APA citation. Internet sources are harder to cite because you have to do that legwork yourself. You do have to have full citations on a reference page. You also have to have in-text citations for every single piece of evidence that you use from your sources. It doesn't matter whether it's paraphrased and put in your own words or directly quoted. You still have to have that citation in text and corresponding with something on the references page. So for sure, on the references page, you should have at least 3 sources. Okay. Objective. One of the things we got a little sidetracked by was the talk about using opinion in your writing. Yes, you are going to use your opinion. You're also going to use expert opinions, but you don't have to say, I think, or I believe, or in my opinion. You make your point and you back it up with good, solid research. That's how we stay in that third person objective voice. So you're going to have at least 5 paragraphs. You also, after the body, you will have a conclusion paragraph that is similar to your introductory paragraph. In terms of how you set up a conclusion, it is very similar. Typically, we think of having the kind of a restatement or a reminder of the point, and then come back out to more general topics, use stories, use quotes, use questions, all those kinds of fun things. All right. You have a rubric here. Make sure that you review it both before you write your paper, during writing your paper, and right before you turn it in. You need to make sure that you're meeting all those requirements if you want to have high scores. It's just most of these are kind of yes and no type things. For example, reliable sources under resources, citations, and APA format. Even if you have reliable sources, if you don't cite them, you're not going to score very high. So you have to meet all of the requirements that are in that little box in order to get a good score. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at what your argument paper is basically going to look like. Now, this is a sample paper. I am going to include it on the announcement so that you can use it as a template if you want for the formatting, but it is not about any of the topics that you are going to be writing about. So I'm not doing anybody's essay for them. So I wrote the sample paper about why they call it jury duty and whether or not people should have to serve on juries. So we have the cover page with all the normal information. We should be good at that by now. On the second page, we have a repeat of the title, and then we have the paragraphs. Notice that it is double spaced and that the paragraphs are about, say, a third of a page. You can count paragraph or sentence numbers if you want to. 6 to 10 sentences or 7 or more sentences are kind of standard, but you will want to kind of look at it. If it looks really short, then it's probably too short. You will notice as you are scrolling through here, and of course you guys can read this more carefully. I'm not going to read it to you, but you'll notice that there are some citations that are not with direct quotes. Another point for being willing to serve on a jury is that the U.S. Constitution demands it, Whitaker and Nelson 2016. There are some that are with direct quotes. Kevin Underhill, blah, blah, blah. There's a direct quote from Underhill's article. Okay, so this will give you a reminder of what they look like, where they're included, and if you name the author in the paragraph itself, then the only thing you need in the in-text citation would be the year. So I've got a quotation here at the end to show you. So you notice this goes on to page 4, and then the references page starts at the top of page 5. The entries are double spaced with a hanging indent. They are also all library sources, and they are in alphabetical order. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Like I said, I'm going to include this for you so you guys will be able to use it as a template. And that is your marching order for Unit 7. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Like I said, I would definitely try to take advantage of the workshop this week so that you can get some live questions asked. But if you need anything from me, of course, let me know. All right. You guys have a good week, and I will see you soon.